We live in a world now where things that are fake have sometimes even more impact than things that are real. And that's messed up, but that's the reality we face now. We can't have both. Either these artificial intelligences are capable of doing human tasks, or they're not, and the jobs will be safe. But you cannot say we're going to have AIs that are capable of human cognition, human level completion of tasks, and then also say in the same breath, oh, but your jobs are safe. And so my mum uses AI. I've seen grandmas using AI. I'm seeing young people are using it on a daily basis, which is cannot be said for cryptocurrencies or Web3 or the metaverse or virtual reality. These are technologies that haven't yet or may never really grasp the public imagination and become a big deal, whereas artificial intelligence incredibly quickly in its more recent iterations has done so, and it's become useful in a way that the internet has. So this is a new experiment. I'm going to be covering AI news and AI updates. I'm going to try to be doing this on a daily basis because basically I do this anyway by myself. So I figured, why don't I do this live as well? So go through the news I'm looking at on a particular day and give my thoughts, go through my thought processes, and then package it all up into a newsletter. So a lot of things are going to be happening here. This is just the first time. It's going to be a test. For those who are interested, what I'm going to be doing is I'm streaming onto TikTok live right now. So I can see people on TikTok. Oh, hello, people on TikTok. I see you. I'm also streaming apparently onto LinkedIn, onto YouTube, onto Twitter, and Instagram all at the same time. And the idea with this stream is basically going to be going through AI news, going through AI updates, talking about it, answering questions, being a bit more freeform, not worrying too much about the presentation, for example. And then at the end of it, summarizing it all, using artificial intelligence to convert it into a kind of a mini newsletter, which I will be sending out to letter list and also breaking that into social posts as well. So this is all an experiment, and I'm starting right now with just doing a live, and I'm going to work out the workflow. So you are seeing everything being built in progress, and if it goes well, I'll also do a playbook on how to do that as well. So I've got people on TikTok, and also a bunch of you over on the other channels as well. So good to see you all here. So I wanted to go through some of the news that's pretty cool today. On TikTok, I can't yet share my screen, but on the other channels I can, but that's okay. On TikTok, I can actually see, I get a lot more. Oh, hey, Elle. Let me say hi to you there. So one of the pieces of news that just came out, I think it was yesterday, was about an AI band. The AI band is called, what's the name of it? The Velvet Sundown. So it's a band that went viral and got over 500,000 monthly listeners on Spotify out of nowhere, supposedly. And the creators have just come clean and said that it's all built using Suno. I've never actually said it out loud. Suno, the AI platform which allows you to create music, is a very good platform that's worth playing around with. But what's happened here is apparently this band has become popular, and they do not exist. It's a totally AI focused band created by AI. I think the images of the band themselves are also AI generated. I'm looking at them now. They're not very good AI generation, so I don't quite know how people fell for this. But now what's happening is the band itself, or the creator of the band, are saying that it is an art hoax. So we're in this very strange position where human beings, were listening and downloading this music and enjoying it, perfectly enjoying it. They didn't care who was creating it. But then as soon as it's been found out that this was all generated by AI, there's been a backlash and people are annoyed about it, and the creator's saying it's a hoax. I think this is how we're going to see increasingly AI. I don't want to use the word art because it's tricky, and art maybe needs intent, so it needs to be created by a human, but these are all definitional language at this point. So I think this is how AI is going to be more and more accepted into society, whether it's going to be through writing, whether it's music, whether it's video. I think it's going to be these small little hoaxes like this one with the Velvet Sundown that are going to become more and more normal until it becomes accepted. I haven't actually listened to their music. Should we pull it up? I quite want to hear what it sounds like. What's it called? The Velvet Sundown. The Velvet Sundown. Yep. Wow, they look very AI. The picture is mad. Let's have a listen. Okay. sounds fine. I don't know enough about music to know if this is good or not, or if it sounds like AI. Sounds perfectly fine. I'd like to hear what other people have to say. They now have 700. That's interesting. So 2 days ago, when it was announced it was an art hoax, they had 500,000 monthly listeners. They now have 750,000. So it's gone up by 50% since they were announced as an AI art hoax. That's very interesting. So I think this will become more and more normal. I'm sure there's a huge number of other AI artists, especially in like EDM, that we just don't know about. But this one has been put forward as a human band, and that's why it's caused some controversy. So because there's controversy around artificial intelligence, suddenly this allows people who are creating music, people who are creating art to suddenly be pushed forward. I don't think this is going to work for anyone who creates music using AI or anyone who creates any kind of art using AI. But right now, it's enough of a marketing hook to get you noticed. So he says, personally, I'm interested in art hoaxes. Frelon, the guy behind it, continues. The Leeds 13 and a group of art students in the UK made like fake photos of themselves spending scholarship money at a beach or something like that. Well, this is good journalism. We haven't paraphrased him at all. And it became a huge scandal. I think that stuff's really interesting. We live in a world now where things that are fake have sometimes even more impact than things that are real. And that's messed up, but that's the reality we face now. So should we ignore that reality? Should we ignore these things that kind of exist on a continuum of real versus fake, or blend between the two? Or should we dive into it and just let it be the emerging native language of the internet? I saw a really interesting video the other day about the Helen Keller paradox or the Helen Keller effect. Apparently, there's a lot of younger people, like Gen Z, who do not believe that they either don't believe that Helen Keller existed, or they don't believe that Helen Keller did the thing she did. So for those of you who aren't sure who Helen Keller is, let me pull up her Wikipedia so I'm not just making things up. She's an American author, disability rights advocate, political activist, and lecturer. She lost her sight and her hearing after a bout of illness when she was 19 months old. So she grew up without sight and being able to hear. She then communicated primarily using home signs until the age of 7. And then she was taught by a companion called Anne Sullivan to teach language, reading and writing. And then Helen Keller went on to do amazing things. But apparently a lot of younger people think that all the things that she did are made up and it's all a hoax. And I saw a very interesting video the other day about how we can no longer trust what we see. If it's a photo, we can no longer trust if it's a video because the AI in video is catching up so quickly. And this is also having the knock-on effect of disallowing us from trusting previous photos, because I can now create a photo of Barney the dinosaur on the Titanic and it's going to look incredibly realistic, which means that even past photos and past video clips of the Wright brothers in their first plane or the moon landing, whatever it is, the disbelief in what is real and what is not real can spread beyond now back into the past, because all historical documents, written, spoken, text, photo, video, all of them now come into question because of the technologies we now have. It's going to be a wild time. I just saw, have you seen the new study about using AI to make medical diagnosis? This is the new Microsoft study on AI diagnosis. So let me pull one up. Let me see if I can pull up an article that isn't going to have a huge number of adverts on it. No. Is there a paywall? No, I'm okay. So Microsoft says AI system better than doctors at diagnosing complex health conditions. So this used to be, just as good as doctors. That narrative is changing. So the firm says the results of research create past medical superintelligent, but plays down job implications. Yes, they would. I love this have your cake and eat it that a lot of corporates have right now. They're like, yeah, this is going to do absolutely everything. This is fantastic, but your jobs are safe. You can't have both. Either these artificial intelligences are capable of doing human tasks, or they're not, and the jobs will be safe. But you cannot say we're going to have AIs that are capable of human cognition, human level completion of tasks, and then also say in the same breath, oh, but your jobs are safe. Doesn't work like that. So here we go. Mustafa Suleiman has said they created a system that imitated a panel of expert physicians tackling diagnostically complex and intellectually demanding cases. When paired with OpenAI's O3 model, which is a reasoning model, it solved more than 8 out of 10 case studies chosen for the diagnostic challenge. And then when these same case studies were given to physicians, doctors, who had no access to colleagues, textbooks, or chatbots, okay, that's interesting. The accuracy was 2 out of 10. So yeah, 4 times as effective. But that's very interesting that they did not give the doctors access to outside material. So I was talking to a doctor about this the other day. Medics, I know medics who are starting to use chatbots. They're starting to use OpenAI. They're starting to refer to ChatGPT during the course of their work, generally to double check themselves and to see if there are any gaps in their knowledge. Really good usage of it. That is still considered a bit like, ooh, gosh, doctors shouldn't be using it. Why are they going to medical school? I don't trust anyone who's diagnosing me with ChatGPT. It's still considered problematic. However, for decades, a decade or so, every time I go to the doctor, which is not that often, I'm making it sound like I'm chronically ill. Every time I go to the doctor will often Google something. They will Google what the best medication will be, or what could be causing a pain in a certain place, whatever it is. Google is used as a resource. Now, there are official kind of medical websites that they're checking, but they are still checking an external body of knowledge. Prior to Google, they would have checked with their colleagues and they would have checked with books. So you would have gone to a medical encyclopedia and looked things up. As our medical or any domain of knowledge expands and expands, it's no longer reasonable to expect one person to contain all of that knowledge at the same time. There's also no purpose doing so. Instead, we use things like books, we use things like the internet, and now we use things like generative AI to outsource our memory, to put that information into a different place. So I think this is slightly unfair comparing the Microsoft model against humans who have no access to external resources. I think what you need to do is you need to give the doctors the access to the normal resources that they would use in their day-to-day diagnosis work, and then it's a fairer test. Because giving them no access to colleagues, textbooks, or chatbots, I don't think that's a fair test. Microsoft says it's also a cheaper option than using human doctors. Yeah, that's fair. And then they said, here we go, despite highlighting the potential cost savings from its research, Microsoft played down the job implications, saying it believed AI would complement doctors' roles rather than replace them. Now, interestingly, there was another piece of research which showed that when you gave doctors access to ChatGPT, they did a lot worse. I should pull up the research, but basically, doctors by themselves give the least accurate medical information. ChatGPT by itself gave the most accurate medical information. Doctors by themselves were the next one down, and then doctors with an AI like ChatGPT were the worst. And it turns out it's because the doctors weren't sufficiently trained in how to use artificial intelligence. So they were falling into all the traps that you know of: hallucinations, confirmation bias, all of the things we can run into with ChatGPT if we don't know what we're doing. Things like asking, oh, I think it might be this complaint, or it might be this disease or this illness. What do you think? Do you agree? Anyone who's used ChatGPT enough will know that ChatGPT would be like, oh yeah, no, fantastic. Absolutely. You're 100% right, because it is agreeable. So putting ChatGPT into the hands of a medical profession who does not know how to use it is actually more dangerous than just having them not use AI at all, which is why we need more training. It also undercuts this, I think. So him saying that he believes AI will complement doctors' roles rather than replacing them. The current research shows that AI by itself is better than when you add it, when you have a doctor and an AI working alongside each other, unless we train the doctors properly. So that needs to come in. So I think this is very interesting research because, one, it shows that AI was better at diagnosing, but I think that the test is a bit flawed because they didn't give the doctors access to external resources, which they would have in their normal course of work. 2, I think Microsoft saying that this won't affect jobs is disingenuous. And 3, saying that it's going to complement doctors rather than replace them doesn't follow the research that we have right now. So I see what they're doing. It's strange with these corporations because they want to show off how great their AIs are, but they don't want the backlash and they don't want the bad PR that comes from that and the logical next step, which is, oh, this will take our jobs. So they want to show it off and how great it is, but without scaring people. It's a weird balance, and I can see him trying to make it here. So yeah, I think it's a really interesting paper. It was in, I read the paper a few days ago. I won't go through it now, but this is a good summary of it. So thank you for whoever that was who referenced that paper. That was something from a few days ago that I haven't talked about. One thing I did want to talk about was the introduction of Perplexity Max. So Perplexity, for those who haven't used it, is, I don't want to call it a wrapper because that's not fair, but it sits on top of other language models and it allows you to do research. And it's a very good model for finding information. I can put it up on my screen. So if you're on Twitter, you can't see my screen, that other people can. Not that's any better for you. So this is Perplexity. So as you can see, it looks an awful lot like ChatGPT. But the great thing about it is it pulls up sources and it actually sources the information. Now, about a year ago, I used to highly recommend it because Perplexity was the only AI model, that was not a model, the only AI tool that would actually do that. That is no longer really the case because we have research modules in pretty much all the models now. So ChatGPT has a research model, Claude has a research model, Gemini, they all have functions, modes inside now that give you the sources for the information it's giving you. Because that was a huge complaint of AIs about a year ago, was that it would just make stuff up. It would make up websites, it would make up papers. And then as soon as you said, oh, where are you getting that from? Is that real? It would say, no. So Perplexity was a good solution to that because it actually sourced papers. Whereas now the other models have built that in, that kind of devalues Perplexity for me personally. I'm sure there are people who use it. If there's anyone in chat who does use Perplexity a lot, I would love to know if you're still using it because I dropped off it totally. But what they've introduced is Perplexity Max, which is, drumroll, surprise, surprise, $200 a month, like all of the other premium models. So they have the Pro at $20 a month, and then Max is $200 a month, which is becoming the new norm for the high-end access. I've read through what it is. I don't really know what it's for. So it gives you a lot more labs. So it gives you unlimited labs. So that's fine. So if you are a power user, it's useful. And it gives you additional usage. So like a lot of the other models, it's just giving you more of the same. Personally, I haven't been using I haven't been using Perplexity for the last year. I would love to know if anyone is and what you use it for, because I just don't see the purpose of it anymore. So I'd be interested to see what their $200 a month does, because now all the other models have added deep research. I don't understand the use case for Perplexity. And the weird thing is here, Perplexity Max includes access to top tier advanced models like OpenAI's O3 Pro. Okay, that's pretty cool. And Claude Opus 4, which is the high-end Anthropic model, with new frontier models added as they evolve. So you get access to the other models, which is good. So you don't have to pay $200 a month to ChatGPT, $200 a month for Claude, etc. I guess the question is how much usage you get. Larissa saying I mostly use ChatGPT. So I think most people use ChatGPT. It is basically the Google of large language models, the Google of AI. I think most people are with you there. If you look at Google Trends, this is always fascinating to see if this has changed. So if I can put in ChatGPT on Google Trends and then do it over the past 12 months, and I'm going to compare it to Claude and Perplexity. Can I spell that right? There we go. And I can't put Gemini because Gemini is a star sign and it always messes up this kind of search. You can see, so the people who are, sorry if you can't see it on the TikTok, I'm going to work out how to show you my screen on TikTok, but I think I need to buy a PC to do, which is not ideal. I just bought a new Mac as well. But the interest over time for ChatGPT is just, it's been going up and up and up and up for the last couple of years, unsurprisingly. But then comparatively, when you search for something like Claude or something like Perplexity, it's basically flatlined. Nobody outside of our kind of AI circles knows what Claude is. I go around telling everyone to use Claude. I gently bully people because Claude is my main model and I love it. But for all intents and purposes, outside of our AI circles, ChatGPT is AI in the same way that Google is search engines. We don't talk about search engines anymore. We just say Google, unless we're being silly and talking about Ask Jeeves. Larissa says, I'm a nurse. What LLM do you think I should get familiar with to increase my earnings over time? How do you want to increase your earnings? Through nursing? Oh, Superpowers of AI. What platform can we see your other screen? That will be on I'm live streaming this on LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter. Sorry, not Twitter, X. Uh, and maybe Instagram, although I was getting lots of warnings, so I'm not sure about Instagram. So anywhere apart from TikTok, annoyingly. TikTok does not work well with Mac, basically. I don't know why, but it is what it is. So Larissa, you want to increase your earnings over time. Doing what? In nursing or within building something on the side, I guess would be the question. John says, hi, Kyle, your playbook has really been a game changer. Thank you. Which one? I write an awful lot of playbooks, one a week. Bryden says, everyone says Twitter. Yes, I know, despite what the Musk wants us to say. Larissa, doesn't have to be nursing. So I think if you are using AI right now and you're using it on a constant basis, you are still ahead in terms of technology. I do a lot of teaching of people, charities and businesses and individuals as well. Most people still aren't using AI, and I can go in. So I went and saw a charity last Tuesday and I did 2 or 3 hours with them, and I'm able to, they've started to use ChatGPT, but the level of knowledge is still extremely low. So if you are using artificial intelligence, there's generally going to be a position where you can go in and help other people. So it's either helping businesses or helping charities or helping individuals. A lot of people need this right now, and you can get paid for doing so. So there's a couple of, I do it for charities pro bono, but I also charge corporates good money. My rate is about $1,500 per hour. The highest I've done is $4,000 for 1 hour because people need this kind of training. But it's also a good thing to do because we can make sure certain groups don't get left behind. So if you are in nursing, for example, I would look at how AI can help nursing and how you can help medical professionals like nurses to use artificial intelligence responsibly. Because what's happening right now, at least in the UK, I'm not sure where you're based, but lots of medical professionals are using AI, but because it's not being embraced fully by the NHS, the kind of governing body here, it means that they're using it either on the side or kind of under the table. And that we need that not to happen. We need people to get proper training. So what I always recommend is if you have been operating in a particular industry, so nursing in your example, then it really helps for you to go and talk to people in that industry because you speak their language. You're able to translate why artificial intelligence is important to them, show them what kind of examples, what kind of use cases would be helpful for them in a way that somebody from a big consulting company like KPMG or Goldman Sachs, they can't do that because they don't understand what nurses need to know about. So you already have that natural built-in advantage. So yeah, I would definitely look at that. So implementation and education. Education is really important. And education is a really good way to get implementation work. So you go and educate a company or individuals, a charity, whatever it is, an organization, you educate them first. That gets you in the door. You build trust. They think of you as their AI person. And then from there, you can get implementation work off the back of that. I love your content and being following from. Thank you, Larissa. That's very kind of you. Where were we? So the other thing I wanted to cover, sorry for those people who logged in a bit later, the lives, what I'm doing now, this is entirely an experiment. I am live on TikTok, I'm live on YouTube, Twitter, some other places. What I'm going to be doing is, so every day normally I sit down and I go through the news, like what's happening in artificial intelligence, because every day there's something new. It's hard to keep up with. And this is my job, basically. So every day I do this anyway. So what I'm going to start doing is just live streaming it while I'm doing this. So I can basically talk out my thoughts. So I'm reading this stuff at the same time as you. This isn't prepared. So I don't want to call it a reaction stream. That makes it sound far too exciting. I'll basically go through the news, read it out, update everybody. And then the purpose of that is off the back of the live stream, I'm going to download the transcript, and then I'll have a transcript of me talking about these various different topics, which I'll convert into a newsletter, into social media posts, potentially into short form video, and a whole bunch of other assets. So this is an experiment, a new type of content structure, and I'm going to see how it goes after this. And my business partner is going to be very happy when I start dumping hour-long streams on him and say, what do we do with this? But we'll see how it goes. The next one, Lovable. So I'm a big fan of Lovable. Lovable is a no code. How do they describe themselves? I don't want to get it wrong. Lovable. It's a terrible name, bless them, because it's also a bra company. There's a bra company called Lovable, a British bra company, which is not ideal. So Lovable is create apps and websites by chatting with AI. It's basically a no code tool where you can talk to Lovable and say, I want to build a website that does such and such. And it will go through and it'll do that for you. So you can do this kind of thing with ChatGPT where you can say, hey, I want to build an application that hosts my educational content, allows people to take courses, allows them to sign up, has a back end that holds their information, etc. You can do this in ChatGPT and you can ask for it to give you a plan. And then you can take that plan out and you can code it, or you can send it to a developer or do whatever you want to do with it. ChatGPT can do the plan for you. ChatGPT cannot build it for you, whereas lovable.dev can. It's a no-code tool. So there's Bolt, Lovable, Repli. I've never said it out loud. This is a problem when you're talking about these things. Repli, REPLIT are tools that allow you to do this. So you can basically speak and say what it is you want, and Lovable will build it for you. This is not sponsored by Lovable, although I did win a competition with them the other day. I'm not sure if anyone saw, but I'm going to San Francisco in about a month's time. They had a competition where, hopefully they won't see this, but they were running a boot camp, a 6-week boot camp called Lovable Shipped, which was free, and anyone could join it and build for 6 weeks with Lovable. It's still going on. I think we're in week 3 right now. I applied and I got in, and when you get in, you get a buddy code, a password basically, that you can give to people, and then they can join Lovable Shipped as well, again for free. So I wasn't selling anything, but they had a competition where whoever gave out the most buddy codes gets flown over to San Francisco for, I think, for the final judging, and gets to go out for dinner with the team and stuff like that. And I won that, and I didn't know that this is why I don't want them to see this. I didn't actually know it was a competition. I just started giving my code out because I wanted other people to get in. And somehow the video that I gave that out in got like 20,000 views, and it ranked first on Google for Lovable buddy code. So I think a lot of people got in that way, and I accidentally won a trip to San Francisco, which is pretty cool. Like, the internet's wonderful like that sometimes, that leverage. Anyway, Lovable, who are not sponsoring this, but they are flying me to San Francisco. They're doing another funding round, so they're going to try and raise $150 million, which will make their company worth $2 billion. This kind of stuff these tools are really fantastic. And if you haven't messed around with vibe coding yet, I highly recommend you do it. Vibe coding is a term, it's only been coined, it's a new term from, I think, January, to describe talking to an AI about what you want to build and it building it for you. So you don't need to know how to code, you don't need to know how to program. Doing so is very helpful because you can understand what the output is, but with a tool like Lovable, you can just describe in natural language as you would to ChatGPT, and then it will build it for you. It's really hard for me to explain it. I just recommend you go and try lovable.dev or Bolt AI or one of these, and just put something in that you want to build, and you can watch it, and it's magic. It really is magic. It's like using ChatGPT for the first time. That kind of feeling of, oh wow, this is magic. How's it doing this thing? It gets you close to that again. So I would recommend checking it out. And it's great to see that they are raising money. They have this terrible unprofessional photo of them. I need to do a bit better than that. But now that they're worth $2 billion, but there's a lot of money being put into tools like this. There's always a question that comes up, and I've been asked this a few times, which is this a bubble? Is AI going to pop? Look at all this money being thrown at these companies. There was what's it called? Was it Base 44? Yeah, Base 44 was purchased last week. It's a 6-month-old company. He used AI tools to build it. And so the guy, Shlomo, he sold Base 44 to Wix, the website builder, for $80 million. So $80 million for 6 months of work is not bad. But because of this, A lot of people are asking, oh, are we in a bubble? Is this going to be like the dot-com boom? Is this all going to come crashing down? Is this like cryptocurrency? I think, one, yes, there is a bubble. A lot of money that shouldn't be going into product is going into product just because people stick the word AI in it. So if you look at the recent Y Combinator entrants, what do you call them? Not sure what you call them. If you look at the new batch of Y Combinator, which is a startup accelerator and fund, if you look at their companies from this year, I think 80% of them are artificial intelligence focused. So this is where all of the money is flowing. That means, yes, there'll be some good money, but there will also be bad money spent on artificial intelligence companies. So I think we will see a reset in the market at some point when we realize that too much money has been spent on companies that don't make any sense. A company still needs to create something of value that customers find valuable and are willing to pay for. Just sticking the word AI in your company's name is not enough to make that valuable. So there will be speculation. However, I think even if there is a reset, even if there is a market collapse, hopefully not as big as we've had in the early 2000s, even if there is a reset, like with the dot-com boom, we're going to come out of it with a valuable technology. So we had the boom and dot-com crash in the late 1990s and the early 2000s. It all came crashing down because any company that had any kind of website was considered valuable and money was thrown at it, and it all crashed out. But at the end of that, we had the internet, which is quite an important technology. It allows me to talk to you people from a house in London. So whilst the market overheated and got too excited, the fundamental underlying technology that drove all of that speculation was sound and has proven itself to be incredibly important for the last couple of decades. I think we're seeing something similar with artificial intelligence, where the fundamental technology is extremely valuable. And so my mum uses AI. I've seen grandmas using AI. I'm seeing young people are using it on a daily basis, which cannot be said for cryptocurrencies or Web3 or the metaverse or virtual reality. These are technologies that haven't yet or may never really grasp the public imagination and become a big deal, whereas artificial intelligence incredibly quickly in its more recent iterations has done so, and it's become useful in a way that the internet has. So I think there will be a bit of a reset in terms of the market, but the underlying technology is not a bubble. It's obviously unbiased, but I think it's incredibly important. It's good to see Lovable are raising some more. This was yesterday, so we'll see how that goes with them. Lovable did not respond for a comment. Ashley, Kyle, do you think the Disney Midjourney lawsuit would play out and set a precedent for AI usage? Yeah, I think Disney they're a big enough company with enough lawyers to really push this through. I don't know what the practical solution is. This is the only problem here. I don't want to say that the art tools or even the large language models are right in the fact that they have absorbed all of this information, including obviously protected intellectual property. But at the same time, unless we shut everything down, I don't see what the solution is. There may be ways to compensate the original creators, but that requires us to tag or mark the data going in a way that allows us to extract on the back end, oh, this is 14% Mickey Mouse and 20% Sonic. Because of the way generative AI works, I haven't seen a practical way to do that, but we need some kind of solution like that if we wanted to come to an actual resolution for this. Otherwise, I just don't see what the lawsuits are going to achieve unless we shut down generative AI totally, or we come up with some kind of way to compute what percentage belongs to what person, which I don't think is practically feasible. So I think it might set a precedent. Midjourney might get sued into oblivion, but at the end of the day, the barn door is open and generative AI models are out there, and anyone with enough willpower and a large enough server can scrape the internet and scrape what they need and put them into a large language model. So in the long run, I think it's unimportant. In the short run, it's going to be an absolute nightmare for Midjourney, and it's going to be a battleground between people who are pro-AI and anti-AI. 5-10 years from now, though, I don't think it was going to make any difference at all. I think intellectual property laws are going to have to fundamentally shift. What it means to create and to own something is going to shift. What the answer to that is, I don't know. And smart people are going to have to work that out over the next 5-10 years. The law, commercial law, intellectual property law will move a lot slower than the technology. So it's always going to be playing catch up. So I think from a practical point of view, the tech companies are just going to push forward and forward. There will be one or two that will get taken out by lawsuits like Midjourney, but in the long run, it won't matter. Yeah, the horse is bolted. But I'd love to hear what other people think, because it's going to be a fascinating lawsuit, because Disney have obviously deep enough pockets to make a good run at this. And it's interesting that they're going for Midjourney, because they could really go for any model, but they're not going for OpenAI and Sora. So I'm Mark B. Which playbooks do you recommend I buy? So you can find most of my playbooks on the website, so you can just get an access and have a look around. But if you want to buy them, you can buy them all in one package. The main advantage is they're just a lot easier to read, and to go around the website. And there's some additional bonuses as well if you do purchase. But I would recommend just looking at my newsletter archive, and you can find most of them and see what's useful for you. And then you can buy the easier to read versions if that's useful for you. Love your content, mate. Are you an engineer? No, digital marketer. I mean, I can code, but I'm not a professional engineer in any way. I actually studied history at university. So I come more from a business background. So my focus with AI has been for the last couple of years blending kind of entrepreneurship, business with artificial intelligence. Because I used to run a digital marketing agency. And when GPT 3.5 came out, I saw the writing on the wall very early, and I was like, I need to do something here. So I threw myself into learning as much as I possibly could about AI, how it could be leveraged for marketing, and then from there, how it could be leveraged to build businesses. So I've started maybe 30 businesses over the last 20 plus years. Most of them failed, as they do. That's just part and parcel of online business. But I realized that what I used to do 20 years ago, which was making the website, building the product, setting up the e-commerce, doing the marketing, doing the Facebook ads, doing the pixeling, doing like customer service, doing absolutely everything. That was a huge amount of work, and I'm glad I did it because I learned a lot. But now we have basically at our fingertips a fleet of experts that we can call upon. So if I don't know how to, as an example, install a Facebook tracking pixel, I can now go to ChatGPT and have it walk me through every single step of that. I've just set up a new YouTube studio, so that's why I look a little bit better now. And I would have had no idea how to do that. So, I still have no idea how to do that, but I went to ChatGPT and I said, hey, this is what I'm doing. What camera should I buy? What lenses? What kind of other stuff do I need? And then when I got everything, I was literally turned on the video mode and said, okay, here is everything. What do I plug in where? And it was able to show me how to do the whole setup. So I think AI for me opens so many doors for people who want to start their own thing, because previously you'd have to either buy that expertise in, or you'd have to learn it all yourself. And that made starting a business, generating an extra income, it made it much, much harder. So I think it's an exciting time. So that's my personal focus, is AI plus entrepreneurship. It sounds highfalutin, setting up a business. But I do code a bit, but certainly not an engineer, not that smart. Kyle, should people be investing time learning agentic AI, or is a new, better technology coming soon? There's always a new, better technology. That's the problem. I think there's always going to be something new. What is important is working out what problems we should be solving using AI, and then being able to adapt that problem solving to whatever tools we have at our disposal. So I have a friend, Shen, who created Launch Lemonade, and she's built a fantastic tool, but her founding kind of mission was to allow business owners to deploy their own chatbots. Very basic. But that has changed over time, like how you do that. And she has given them access to agentic, she's given them access to MCP, etc. Like the technology is always improving, but the fundamental problem that she is solving with her business remains the same, is to help people who are non-technical have access to these tools and to build stuff that is valuable for their business. I think if you start with that kind of attitude, starting with a business problem or starting with something you want to solve with AI, then the more AI progresses, the more tools we have at our disposal. All that means is we're just going to be able to more easily hit those goals, because it's always getting better. And I think waiting for it to slow down before we hop on board, from a practical point of view, is not going to work, just because it's going to keep coming. We're probably seeing GPT-5 soon. Let me pull up the tweet so I don't misquote him here. God, he tweets so much, I can't find it. What are we calling them tweets? What are we calling them? Zeets? We can't be calling them Zeets. I don't think it was Ben. All right, someone else. Somebody else spotted in the drop down, a new model appeared briefly called Forth, just 4th, which could be, and there's a rumor that there's also a testing model out there, it could be GPT-5, because we're expecting to get it this summer. So again, trying to wait until the right time to jump on, I don't think works, just because we don't know what's coming and it's coming so quickly. The only certainty really is uncertainty. So start building, start learning, and then adapt as you go along. Plus anything that you learn with automation or agentic or MCP, that's going to be valuable stuff moving forward, because at least you'll have that context. So just keep learning, basically. Oh gosh, there are so many questions here. Interesting. I agree with your short-term theory, but I hadn't thought about long-term in reference to Disney and Midjourney. Yeah, I think long-term, when I say long-term in AI is 2 or 3 years, I think, but if we're looking 5 to 10 years in the future, I think there will be a blip, basically. And yeah, they probably think they can bury Midjourney, but they can't bury OpenAI, which strategically, I would agree with them there. Larissa's saying, why do you like Claude? Yes, okay, this is my favorite topic. I love Claude. So I do have ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT an awful lot, but Claude, so out of the box, Claude matches my writing style a lot more. It speaks like me already without me having to train it or to give it much additional input. I have given it now, over the last year, I've written about 400,000 words. So I've given it a huge amount of my writing as well. But even before that, the way it thinks, the way it talks, the way it communicates is very similar to how I do already. So it's purely subjective, honestly. When I read something by ChatGPT or when I work with ChatGPT, to me, ChatGPT feels like ChatGPT, and it has that style, it has that tonality always. And I've tried to train it out, and no, it's still ChatGPT. Whereas Claude resonates a lot more with me because it has that same way of speaking and reasoning as I have. This is subjective. This is why I recommend people try out loads of different models and see what works for them, basically, because some people love Gemini, some people love Claude, some people love Grok. Nobody loves Copilot. And the point is that you will find one that works for you. And for me, it's Claude. So I've always been a Claude maximalist. But I use ChatGPT for other things as well, and Gemini for coding primarily. If you haven't used Claude, it has a free trial like ChatGPT. So I recommend just trying it out. If you don't like it, it's fine. Like, it's not really a problem. Self-deprecating. Aussie, Kyle, are we too early to build basic AI tools for kids and parents to use together to build art too? Arts and crafts tools? No, not too early. I'm not sure if you saw earlier, but I was talking about Lovable. Yeah, Larissa, the pilot is not great at all. Aussie, I was talking about Lovable earlier. So what I would do is literally go over to lovable.dev, and it has a prompt window, and you type in, hey, I want to build a tool which allows kids and parents to work together on arts and crafts. And then you would specify what exactly you mean by that. What kind of features would you like to see? And Lovable is going to go away and create a basic version for you. And then you can talk back and forward using natural language to help refine what that looks like, how it's deployed, whether it's a web page, whether it's an application, etc. You can talk to it and you can use normal language. So you don't need to say, hey, I want to put together a jQuery, blah, blah, blah. You don't need any of that. No programming language. You just need to be able to explain what it is you want to build. And if you can communicate that idea to something like Lovable, it will be able to build you a prototype. And then from there, you can build with it. So no, definitely not too early. Oh yeah, you're building some with the APIs. So it does that, but so it's connecting into the API for ChatGPT or whatever you want to connect it to, but it will allow you to build out the front end and the back end functionality much more easily if you don't know how to code. So have a look at it. How is Claude with hallucinating when reading large amounts of text for research, etc.? So one of the great things about Claude is it does have a larger context window. Let me pull it up. There's a great site called artificialanalysis.ai. So the really good thing about this is because the models are changing all the time, it's really hard to keep on track, especially because there's 4 or 5 different OpenAI models at any time. Even for someone like me who lives and breathes this every day, I couldn't tell you everything. But artificialanalysis.ai gives you everything on a nice page. That's what I'm looking for. Where's it gone? They've moved the one thing that I need, which is the context window. It should show me the context window. I can't find it. Here we go. Output tokens. No. Okay, there's almost too much information. They've changed this page and I haven't looked at it for a while. Claude basically has a much larger context window than ChatGPT. So it's able to deal with a lot more information. That's especially useful in projects, which is how I use it most of the time. And because of that, it will be able to understand better if you give it large documents. However, Gemini is still the best for this. Gemini 2.5 Pro in particular. I think the context window is 2 million tokens. Does somebody know? It might be 4 million. It's a lot, a huge amount. It allows you to throw a huge amount of data at it. The problem is that the model, personally, I don't think the model is as good, but Gemini is fantastic for you to have a huge corpus of data information you want to give to it. It could be a code base, it could be multiple books, it could be textbooks. That's going to be your go-to model for huge context. You can also obviously put together your own RAG system, etc. But Claude is better than ChatGPT, and then Gemini is better than Claude generally. How is Claude? So because of that, it will tend to hallucinate less because at least it's not running out of context window at the top of its chat. Because when that happens, instead of telling us, oh, I've run out of context or I've run out of memory, AI models will just fill in the gaps. They don't know what they don't know. They've forgotten that they've forgotten, basically. So they will try to fill in the gaps logically, and they will sound incredibly convincing. Whatever they come out with sounds right, because they're fantastic at that. But they've actually forgotten the initial context. So because there's a large context window, that's less likely to happen with Claude. What do you think about local GPTs? Do you mean custom GPTs or like local on your own system? And is Lovable better than Replete? I prefer Lovable personally, but I would say it depends what you're trying to build. So I actually use Cursor for most things, but Cursor it's more powerful, but there's a much steeper learning curve, whereas Lovable it's good for prototyping, it's good for getting started. My personal workflow is I start in Lovable, I prototype something, and then I'll take it over to Cursor. I have used Replete. I don't like it as much as Lovable, but I think it depends what you're building generally. Thanks so much. On your system, so a local GPT. So yeah, you can run local models. Generally, you're going to be running an open source model, so a Llama-based model, which I'm going to get yelled at by Preston. Will be in chat. Preston's not here, is he? Local models are great because you have privacy. You can fine tune them yourself, so you can make them good at the task that you wanted to be good at. Obviously, you need a bit more horsepower, so you're going to need a good computer with good GPUs to run at a speed that makes it functional. The main problem, so you get that power, you get the customization, you get the privacy, fantastic. The main issue is that the new frontier models from OpenAI, from Anthropic, from Google, they're getting better all the time. Every month we get a new model and it blows the last model out of the water. So because of this, you either need to keep updating your local model and retraining it, which again costs time, it costs money. And even then, you're still not going to get the same results as if you just use a frontier model. So one that is the newest thing, Opus 4 or Gemini 2.5 Pro or O3 or whatever it is from ChatGPT. They're still going to be better than whatever the open source Llama model is. Now, I'm going to get yelled at by the open source people in chat, but generally, the open source models are lagging behind by a little bit compared to the frontier models. So with the frontier models, it's a black box. You don't get to control it. You don't get to mess around with the internals. You're just connecting to them and you're using them and you pay for that. Whereas with your own one that you run at home, you get privacy, you get customization. But the downside of that is you are not getting access to the best model at that particular time. If you don't need the best model all the time, which is a lot of tasks are perfectly fine with GPT-4. They do not need the newest reasoning model. They do not need that additional power. If the tasks you're running on your local GPT don't need that frontier model, then absolutely, local models are really useful. But again, it depends on your use case. I think what we're going to see is a lot of companies, I mean, they already are, but a lot more companies and enterprises deploying local models within their company because it's much more secure, because it's on your own server. And I think there's going to be more and more, we're already seeing it, there's more and more questions about how OpenAI the creators of ChatGPT are going to be treating our data. And we have things like the New York Times lawsuit, where the New York Times is saying, don't delete anything. We want you to keep records of absolutely everything on your servers so that we can check it for our content, basically. From a practical point of view, I read the calculation somewhere. If they didn't delete everything that was coming in, they'd need like more servers than exist in the whole world within about a month or something. So practically they can't actually comply with this, but it does open up questions of what are ChatGPT keeping? What are they holding on to? What are they telling us they're getting rid of, but they're not really? Because we don't know. These are unknowns. And when it comes to business applications, a lot of enterprises are willing to deploy something locally so they don't need to worry about that. They know their data is secure. Gemini. Oh, hey, Matt. How you doing? America's waking up. I've seen a few of my American TikTok friends logging on. What time is it there? Cool. So I think that's covered. Oh, no, it hasn't yet. Actually, yeah, I wanted to point out Ethan Mollick. If you don't follow Ethan Mollick, I highly recommend you do. He's one of my go-to news sources for artificial intelligence news, and also, well, no, more than that, analysis. He's just a very smart guy. He's a professor of, what's he a professor of? Okay, he's a professor at Wharton. I'm not quite sure what of, but he's one of the smartest guys in the field. And was this 2 days ago? He highlighted this. Again, if you're on TikTok, you can't see this. Sorry, but if you're on other channels, you'll be able to see this. He highlighted a new study, which is about the use of artificial intelligence in schools. And I wanted to quickly go through it. So the tweet says, the repeated argument that AI is not actually useful to real people needs to be retired based on the representative national surveys we now have on real AI users. So earlier I was talking about the fact that if you're watching me here right now on social media, then chances are you're at the cutting edge of the artificial intelligence adoption. But there are real people out in the real world who aren't at the same kind of level of interest as you guys are, but they are using it. And they're starting to use it on a day-to-day basis. I'm sure you know these people who might come to you and be like, oh, how do I use this ChatGPT thing? Make sure you help them. They need it. But in this report, so Ethan says, teachers using AI report 6 hours a week time savings. Workers using AIs report 3 times productivity gains on 20% of their tasks. And then he pulls up the actual report. And this is specifically from teachers. Let me find okay, so the highlights are 6 in 10 teachers have used an AI tool for their work this school year, with heavier use amongst high school, 66%, and early career teachers, 69%. I'm surprised it's not more than 6 out of 10, honestly. But the people who do use it, so teachers who use AI weekly save 5.9, so 6 hours of work per week. So that's basically a day, which is a lot of time. I have friends who are teachers, and man, they work really hard and they don't get paid enough for it. So if you can save 6 hours a day of work using artificial intelligence, I can see why that's attractive. Currently, about 3 in 10 teachers are using AI at least weekly, with more frequent users experiencing greater time savings. Makes sense. Most teachers who use AI tools say the tools improve the quality of their work, less effective. The teachers who use the AI tools say it improves the quality of work. This is them saying it does, so we need to take that with a pinch of salt. But 64% see higher quality in the modifications they make to student materials. 61% say they generate higher quality insights about student learning or achievement data, and 57% say AI improves the quality of their grading and student feedback. Okay, that seems pretty good. There was a study done in, I think it was Nigeria, where they gave kids access to an AI tutor that they used after school. And that's a wonderful study. It's really worth looking at. I think the kids who had the AI tutor managed to complete 2 years of curriculum content in 6 months. So it really accelerated their learning. And it's especially powerful in the female students, because the female students were not getting as much attention during class time. So it allowed them to really decrease that gender inequality in terms of the school grades. So really cool to see AI being used in these settings. Teachers who use AI are more likely to be optimistic about the impacts of AI. Okay, cool. So the people who are using AI realize, oh, this is quite good. We should be using this. And then teachers at school with an AI policy are more likely to say they've used AI tools. Okay, so that is interesting. They've checked schools where AI has been approved and it has an official policy, against schools where it either hasn't been, actually, no, with an AI policy. Okay, so it hasn't been addressed. This is what I see in most companies. Very few companies will say, do not use AI. And when they do, they're trying to make a point. I always feel a bit sorry for them. Or I feel sorry for the staff members of those companies, because the company's going to fall behind and potentially not be here in a few years, which is terrible for the staff member. But more importantly, that means that staff member for the next few years, while that company is sinking, they are not learning how to use AI. So I think that's really scary. But it sounds like the schools have said, okay, you can use AI. We have an AI policy. The teachers are obviously more open about using AI in those schools. But there will be schools, there are companies where it is not talked about. So the organization will just not address the fact that people are using AI, which, coming back to what I was talking about earlier, in hospitals and medical settings, that's the most dangerous use of AI. We either need to say, you cannot use it, or we say you can use it and here's some training. If we fall in that middle area where it is not addressed, it's just something that is a dirty word, that's when people start to bring their own ChatGPT to work with them. They're going to use their free account, and that data is going to go straight to OpenAI. So you've got a data security issue. They also won't be trained in how to deal with hallucinations. They won't be trained in how to deal with the agreeableness of artificial intelligence, etc. So they are more likely to get harmful effects from the AI. So any company or organization that falls in that gray area needs this, I won't swear, but they need to sort their stuff out, which is why there's also a huge opportunity for you guys to go and teach in those organizations, because people need to work out how to do this properly. Cool. So cool looking study. I won't read the whole thing, but those were the main headlines. Basically, teachers are using it. Those teachers who do use it are saving 6 weeks per school year, which they can then reinvest. So it's more time for them to be face-to-face with students. Fantastic. And then the teachers who use AI say that it's improving the quality. So that is fairly conclusive. This is by Gallup and the Walton Family Foundation. So I would have questions about who exactly the Walton family are. Oh, is that Walmart? Sam Walton. It probably is. But yes, so that is, if you want to look up that study yourself, that is going to be Teaching for Tomorrow, Unlocking 6 Weeks a Year with AI by Gallup and the Walton Family Foundation. Cool. I was going to hop off, but I've got a few more questions. Let's do that. There's a lot of chat about AI agents at the moment. What do you think about real world B2B opportunities? Yes, there is a lot of chat. There's also a lot of hype. Agents are great, but they can be loose cannons. So to get an agent working really well, you need to know an awful lot about the organization. You need to know a lot about the business processes. You need to know how everything fits together. And a simple N8N template is not going to know all of that. So when you go into an organization, you need to sit with them and work out, what is it that we actually want to automate here? Generally, when you go to a company, they'll just say, yeah, we want to do AI. And no, we need to be more specific. What's taken up a lot of time? What could we automate? What could we give to an agent that is not going to be a disaster if it goes wrong? And you use these metrics to work out what tasks AI should be used on and what tasks AI should not be used on, which is really important. Can't do everything. I think the problem right now is that AI agents are very sexy. It's the new thing. It looks cool. And therefore, a lot of it's being shilled, basically, especially N8N workflows. So you see a lot of them on. That's interesting. Oh, it's asking me to verify on TikTok. That's not ideal. There are a lot of people who are selling templates, basically, in the same way that people push, I don't know, drop shipping or whatever the newest get rich quick online technique is. Right now, it's N8N templates. I can't say the name of the company for the life of me. That said, AI automations and AI agents can be very valuable when they are applied in the right place in an organization, but that requires proper work, like consultation, going in, working out what they actually need. So if you do the work and then build them an automation, fantastic, or an agent, fantastic. I would also say a lot of the AI agents that you'll see on social media in particular, are not agents. They are automations. They are things that are built in Zapier or make.com or N8, I'm not saying it anymore. That's it. They're built in Zapier or make.com. and they're automations. And we've had automations for ages. They are just automations that have an AI step in them. So maybe it's got an input, which is an email is received. Then it goes to a process, which is send that information to ChatGPT and run this prompt. And then it has an output, which is send a summary to Slack, whatever it is. That's an AI automation. That is not an AI agent. An agent is something completely different, but a lot of people are just hopping on the bandwagon of AI agents because it's the cool new thing. So I think they are great. You just need to be careful of people shilling them and overselling them. Also, if you can do something, this is a really important thing in business. So you have AI agents at the top, you have AI automations, and then you have automations, like traditional automations. If you can do something with a traditional automation, like a cron job, or when a new file appears on the server, run this code, that's a traditional automation. There is no artificial intelligence there. If you can do the job like that, don't use AI. AI introduces randomness. AI is stochastic, it's not deterministic. So if you can do it without any AI, you shouldn't use AI. The next level up is AI automation, which is an input, some kind of AI process, and then an output. Great. And then the next level up is an AI agent, which is more complex. It's giving the agentic system more leeway to solve the problem itself, which is fantastic in certain situations, but an absolute disaster in others, because you don't want creativity. You don't want new ways to solve problems in some situations. If it's accountancy, for example, if you can run this with a traditional automation where you send a number from here to here, fantastic. If you put it through AI, there's a chance that AI is going to garble that. It's going to come up with something new. It's going to try and do something clever, get it wrong, and put the wrong number in the wrong place. So always use the simplest tool for the job. And I think a lot of AI agent people miss that because they create these, I'm sure you've seen them, these beautiful flowcharts that do absolutely everything in your business. That's a nightmare. That's just going to explode as soon as you put that into an actual environment being run by actual people who aren't necessarily technical, or even if they are, it's just going to explode. So there's potential, but you have to be really careful. Companies fail. Can you still get rich with N8N? Lol. I'm sure you can by selling N8N templates. That's the way to get rich. In a gold rush, sell shovels. Never fails. Cool. I'm going to log off. Thank you so much, everybody. So this has just been a kind of a dry run. So I talked to my business partner earlier about this idea of me going through the news and then getting a transcript from the live, and then using that to create a newsletter and to create short form social media posts as well. So thank you for being with me here while I did the dry run. This will become more polished as I work out what I'm doing. But up until then, this has been fun. And it is nice because this is so much more direct than writing a newsletter, and you don't know if anyone's reading it and get the numbers and stuff, but that doesn't mean very much. Great session, Kyle. Thanks for all your content. Thank you. Thank you, Joe. Thank you, James. Thank you, Ellen. So yeah, I'm going to be doing these a lot more often, and I'll work out what it looks like as well. And maybe I can bring you guys on to ask questions, or maybe you can bring them. I don't know. We'll work it out, but it's a work in progress, like everything. You are great, but announce on the email. This is totally ad hoc. I had the idea about an hour ago, and then I was like, okay, I'll just do the live, but I will announce it. I'll announce the other ones later. Okay, cheers, everyone. Coming off here too.